Hey guys, this is Azra here, bringing you Game 2 from the first round of Swiss from the Bangor Netrunner Regionals held at the end of May 2016. The valid data pack up to this point was Salsette Island, and we're picking up again with Mark Mortram and Neil Butler. So this is their second game. Quite note that both players actually did decide to mulligan, so both players are going to be sticking with the cards they get in their hand this time round. Mark is playing IG in the left, and on the right we got Leela again in a switch around. The Leela from Neil is nothing too strange or startling, lots of nice one-offs, symmetrical visage, film critic. We do have John Masanori, bank jobs, and a card I quite like to see in Criminal actually, which is Gordian Blade. It's expensive at 3 influence, but I'm actually quite a fan of it myself. On the left side, however, I can't say the same about Mark's Industrial Genomics deck. It has a spicy little card that I'm really excited to see, and that's Dedication Ceremony. So he's running these with two dedications and 2 Ronin, which I can only assume is for very, very quick counter and kill plays. We've got Shocks, of course, which isn't too surprising, and a pretty difficult agenda spread, which I think everyone's getting used to, with Future Perfects, Fetal AIs, Global Foods, and Philodic Entanglement. So overall, pretty tough deck. It's going to be utilising Genetics Pavilion, Psychic Fields, Bioethics Association, all the things we kind of come to love from IG, but a few little spicy cards like that Dedication Ceremony, and also actually Sensei Actors Union. So really curious to see how this game plays out. So what are we going to see from Mark here? That looks like a Cortex Lock or Yagura. Couldn't quite catch actually what that was. Rez is Jackson, and it looks like we're going to maybe see a couple of mills straight away. Oh, sorry, a couple of mills, a couple of discards to start building up that IG bonus. And that's what it's all about, really. So anyone that's not familiar, IG's ability is that the trash cost of any card, installed or not, is increased by 1 for every face down card in Archives. So expect to see Archives getting plenty of shock love this game. Neil just sorts out his credits, and let's see what Leila's got for turn 1. And a nice open R&D is always good. Sure Gamble's a good start. And I do think this isn't an awful matchup for Leela, but she does need to get a couple of combos off cards. Oh, the early Desperado, is that? Yeah, is pretty nice. No snares in Mark's deck, but I don't think Neil can take that for granted. He's going to run the Jackson. Costs him 4 to trash that, but he does get a credit back from Desperado, and that leaves him with 3 credits for daily cast. Not awful. And I think that's a really good shout. Trashing the Jackson early to ensure that we're not going to just have Mark super draw into cards and start trashing lots. That being said, it is expensive. It is rough for Neil to have to deal with that. So a little change in plan for Mark, which is going to see him put down a tech startup on a hostile infrastructure. The hostile infrastructure is just a brutal card once you get it rezzed and start stacking up those assets. So Neil just drawing up, and I guess seeing his draw engine would be great, and that is perfect. There's the Symmetrical Visage, which is, I mean, really it's only a credit for the first time you draw each turn, but... Oh. I think Neil's potentially taking a credit incorrectly there, because he's taking a credit for Symmetrical Visage, but he had already drawn that turn. So I don't think Mark maybe picked up on that. And his last click was to run and check the hostile infrastructure. So Tech Startup's going to get popped here at the start of turn. What are we going to see? Triple Statics there being shown as well, which should actually be pretty detrimental to Leela, but there's not that many agendas in the deck. Oh, and another Jackson hits the table, and that's just sickening for Neil. He just spent 4 credits trashing 1. So at least Leela has, you know, her kind of semi-draw engine. There is 2 John Masanori she'd love to draw into, but having this Metal Visage is just like getting an extra credit every turn, because she's more than likely going to be drawing a card a turn at this stage. So Mandatory Draw shows another Tech Startup, which is great. First click into Jackson. Oh, and there's a Ronin. Probably a bit early for that, really. He needs to get some economy going here. Jackson again. And now we're going to get a bunch of trashes. Now, this deck doesn't run a lot of money at all, actually. It really only runs 3 hedge fund as its main source of money. But the great thing is that Mark can probably just sit there and chill out for a lot of the game, just letting the runner kind of bash off all of his assets and really hard to find agenda sweep. Looks like 5 face down cards currently in archives. So, click 1, we're going to use the baby. I think Mark is having a bit of a giggle there because I don't think in England they call symmetrical visage the baby, or the dumpster baby, as we tend to call it over here. Click 2 is going to be a draw. Bank Job's a very nice draw here to get Neil back into the economy. And he's definitely going to get that as and when he needs it. It doesn't need to necessarily rush it out now. And pops down a Katie for click 4, so could have maybe just done Katie and then put 3 on Katie rather than putting the Bank Job down. Maybe a little bit of efficiency loss there, but overall pretty good. At least he's got a stable economy now with the daily cast finishing off Katie and Bank Job. Since the Actors Union is not one I think anyone would expect to see out of IG. Neil just double checking what that means. So essentially Mark can just filter out his hand, draw 3 cards a turn, and then pop any card from his hand onto the bottom of his deck, which is just absolutely fantastic. What he'd really like to see now is some money. It goes a Cortex Lockdown in R&D. So a really prickly deck here. So I think it's Yugura, I think it's on HQ, and then the Cortex Lock on R&D. That being said, no account siphon protection at all, except for the fact that he could res the hostile infrastructure to dock himself 5 credits if he wanted to. And Neil is, of course, running 3 account siphons as Leela. So the cards are really building up in archives now, and at this point, if I was Neil, I feel like I'd want to check them. He takes his money from daily cast and a draw with the baby credit. I feel like I'd want to just get them face up, find out what's in there, get a view of what's being trashed, maybe force the Jackson pop. And sure, you may take a shock or 2 worth of damage, or even you may expect the likes of a Shiku, but I think to continue to let that grow and give more time for something like a crit to go in front of it is maybe not the best play. Oh, and it looks like he might actually be doing exactly that. He is indeed. So second clicks onto archives, and Jackson's going to get popped. And it looks like there's 1, if not 2 shocks potentially in the bin. And we get a Jackson and 2 face downs going back in. Oh yes, there are 2 shocks, a Psychic Field, a Crick, funnily enough, and a Genetics Pavilion. So yeah, 2 net damage coming the way of Leela. We lose a Corona and a daily cast. Ouch. Never like to see programs getting trashed when you're criminal. And we're going to see 3 credits put on Katie. I think I might have potentially missed a draw for Neil there. Don't know if he took all 4 clicks that turn actually, but there we go. And on Mark's side, he hasn't spent any money yet this game. He's sitting on his original 5 credits, which I think is just hilarious. Since the Actor Union's going to let him go ahead and siphon that, I think that card's got to die. While the archives is face up and while that hostile infrastructure is not rezzed. Now that, for the close, those paying really close attention, was what looked like a Breaker Bay. And if that's what you thought it was, you're right. Mark's running 3 Breaker Bay. And that is the same server. I think Neil was just double checking that he wasn't just tight for space. That's the same server. I'm not sure what went on to it, but to me, the one card that Mark really wants to res off of Breaker Bay is a hostile infrastructure. So Breaker Bay is essentially giving him 5 credits. This dedication ceremony, I would very much like to see that kind of Ronin quick advance kill play come together. And daily cast is going to empty up. And there's 1 face down card gone into archives. So now Mark has the potential, I think, because I think the card that went in the Breaker Bay is probably a hostile infrastructure, he has the potential to raise 2 of them. And that's just a horrible position for Neil to be in, because now it's more difficult for him to deal with these assets. And he is now going to choose to run, and yeah, it's an ill-fated time to kind of make that decision. Mark's actually going to... Yep! Oh, wow! I didn't think it would actually come down that quick. But yeah, Mark has gone ahead, spent all of his money, double res the hostile infrastructures, and for criminal, that's a really rough decision. Now, the upside is Neil can just go ahead and take his bank job credits. Downside, he needs to be really careful about what's in his hand. And he's having a real think now. And this is a real tipping point for the game. If Neil was to start trashing these, it's going to cost him a lot of money, a lot of tempo. But if he leaves them up, Mark's going to start to put down those bioethics associations. He's going to start to prepare the Ronins, and he could put Neil in a losing position before Neil can actually score out the agendas he needs to win. Oh, so a run. Oh no, I thought we were going to have a run in R&D. Maybe not. There's a Ronin. Yeah, Neil was just... I think Neil rushed to say, yeah, I want to kill that, but then he realises that even when he's killing cards in R&D, he'd take the hostile infrastructure damage and have to pay the extra credit for the 1 Faithtown card in Archives, which means that Ronin is not a pretty proposition to have to kill at all. And what like a lockdown of a board state we have here now, where Leela wants to get going, but is looking at a very small range of assets that are just holding up her game. Oh, I think Neil just forgot to get his Desperado credits in the run, which he confirmed with Mark, and that was fine, so he's popped them on. And if Neil only knew that right now there was 2 agendas in hand for Mark, haven't seen any of Neil's hand to know what he actually has in there. But it looks like Neil is doing some real math in terms of how many cards can I lose, how many credits can I pay to trash this stuff. Now, there's no museums in this IG deck. Again, maybe not something that Neil would consider. And here we go. He does have a legwork in hand. Wow. Which is going to get eaten up here. Oh my word. And they're just chatting about the fact that hostile infrastructure does still give a net damage for itself being trashed, and I think Neil's realising here that all those cards in his hand are really quite important. Click 3, draw. Oh, man, yeah, I really would love to see a legwork play here. Oh goodness, he is! He's playing legwork, okay. Wow, so we're going to see 3 of the 5 cards first. Dedication ceremony, definitely not something I think Neil would expect. Oh, Genetics Pavilion. I think there's 2 agendas in these last 3 cards. Oh no, and Neil misses both of them. The global food and what I think is a fetal AI. Yes, it is. Oh, that's just horrible luck for Neil there. Really going to put him in sort of a negative mindset, I think, after having horrible access. And since the Act of Union is going to come along and just clear up this hand, we might see the global food in the bottom. I think that's what went to the bottom. Mark sees his hedge fund a turn too late. I mean, this could end up just being a click for money turn. He might throw a bit of ice down in front of one of the hostile infrastructures potentially. If he had seen that infrastructure, that hedge fund a turn before, I'm sure it would have been elated, but I'm not sure if he's just going to take credits here. Okay, so he does protect the hostile infrastructure with what looks like a Himitsu Baku, and takes 2 credits, okay. So yeah, this Sensei Actors Union acting like a second Jackson, even when his Jacksons have been killed or sort of trashed out of R&D, he's getting to draw cards, he's getting to discard, and he's getting to tidy up his hand to get rid of those agendas to even lower the chance for the runner, which is really nice. So on Neil's side, he's gonna, looks like, draw and then install John Masanori. Click 3, we're running R&D. Oh no, it's the Cortex lock. And he's got Desperado installed, the 2 credits. That's going to be 5 net damage. How many cards does Neil have in hand? I don't think it's 5. Oh my god, it's 3, and that's the game. Oh wow, I think Neil just completely blanked for a moment. He was sitting with a fairy in hand, which he shows, and a mongoose as well. Oh, that is absolutely just horrible luck. Neil was just getting into a board state position where things were becoming really difficult for him, and it was a struggle, I think, for him to work out where to go. So look guys, if you want to catch the first game of this round, you can do so by clicking the link on the left, or if you want to head on into round 2 game 1, you can click the link on the right. Thanks so much as ever for watching.